Hello and welcome to this video of InfoBytes. Today we are going to discuss about Dr. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh and what implications his assassination last week in Iran would have on the global political atmosphere. So yeah, the video is titled "What's Going On in Iran." So let's first of all understand who was Dr. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. He was born in 1958 in the Shia Muslim holy city of Qom, and he had an nuclear engineering doctorate uh, from Iran. And the subject of his doctorate, for those of you who are interested, was nuclear radiation and cosmic rays. Previously, he was a physics professor at Imam Hussein University in Tehran. From there, he went on to become a brigadier general in the Islamic Revolutionary Guards of Iran and a senior, so to say, official in the Iran nuclear program. Why I put the double quotes in senior, we will see later on. He was recognized by the Iranian Defense Ministry as the head of SPND. SPND is the Iranian name given to its Organization of Defensive Innovation and Research. And he was famous to have led, he was famously known to have led the Ahmad project, which ran from 1989 to 2003. I have given the timeline here just to make it clear that this is the Iranian uh, timeline. But the Ahmad project was important in Iranian history because it was the actual program which dealt with development of nuclear weapons, the PET Iranian nuclear weapons program, which was a point of contention for decades, and it's still a point of debate among many countries. Yeah, so he was also a former head of the Physics Research Center at Lavizashia. Lavizashia was a nuclear weapons site declared by the IAEA in its report, and also this site was pointed out uh, along with Dr. Fakhrizadeh in the UN Security Council resolution number 1747 of 2007. So he had quite an interesting portfolio. Now I'll explain why I put the double quotes in senior, as in why would just calling him a senior official in the Iran nuclear program suffice. So the New York Times in 2014 had compared Dr. Fakhrizadeh to Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, as we all know, is the father of the nuclear bomb, which was developed in the US. So that was the comparison that was done. The Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, had in 2018 disclosed to the world about the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action agreement, not working, and Iran still working on its nuclear weapons program with the same vigor. So in 2018, he had brought it out to the world, and in that conference, he had also pointed out Dr. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh's name, and he had told reportedly to people to remember that name. This is the exact video, the exact conference that I'm talking about, and you can see Fakhrizadeh's photo in the background. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu presenting it to everyone, and we see the keywords here are SPND and Project Ahmad that we discussed about. Now, let's get to the reasons for his assassination. Why would the a top nuclear scientist from Iran be assassinated inside Iran? Mind you, this was inside Iran. Yeah, so this might have been an attempt by the rebels to derail the peace process uh, that is likely to happen between the to start between the Biden administration, Joe Biden administration in the US, with the Iranian government. Uh, Now that the Biden administration is the incoming one in the US, and Biden indicating already that he will be looking for a re-entry in the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, is what we talked about just now. Is the agreement, as we know, entered into by the US along with its P5 partners, the Security Council permanent members, and Germany with Iran. So this agreement was reached to put a cap on the number of centrifuges, the amount of uranium that Iran can stockpile. So there was a threshold decided for each of that. So this was uh, expected to put a restriction on the Iranian nuclear weapons program. Although that what whether this it actually was successful was debatable, and this was the reason why Donald Trump pulled out of the deal in 2018. Okay. There are also other geopolitical changes that are happening in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia. So there was a covert meeting between the premiers of the two countries, Israeli Prime Minister with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. They had a covert meeting on the last weekend, and although media reports suggest that the meeting was not very fruitful, but this does point to the inclination of Israel and Saudi Arabia towards each other, which and both of these countries have taken stances against Iran. So this might be another attempt by Israel or Saudi Arabia, most likely Israel, to derail the uh, peace in Iran. Also, subsequently, after the meeting happened, there was an attack on the on an Saudi Aramco oil facility inside Yemen. This attack was claimed by Houthi rebels. Houthi rebels, we know, are backed by Iran. So this is the kind of tensions that are brewing in the Middle East. So reactions on the assassination. Who said what? The nation of Iran is smarter than to fall in the trap of the conspiracy set by Zionists. In due time, they will answer for this crime, is what Hassan Rouhani, the president of Iran, said. Iran's first priority after killing is the definitive punishment of the perpetrators and those who ordered it. This is the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini, saying this. And then we have the statement from the United Nations, which urged restraint and the need to avoid any actions that could lead to an escalation of tensions in the region. This was Stephanie Dujarric, the spokesperson for the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. So we have fierce reactions coming from Iran, and a lot of world leaders have actually condemned it, but at the same time urged Iran to practice restraint and not go for any retaliatory measures. Now, to the golden question: will there be retaliation? President Rouhani actually has been moderate with his words. If we go back to what has said, the nation of Iran is smarter than to fall in the trap of conspiracy set by Zionists. In due time, they will answer for this crime. So this is not what a angered an angered president would say when he seeks revenge or retaliation, sudden retaliation. So this might be a shift in stance by President Rouhani to moderatism. But this does not surely mean that the IRG, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, are not capable of retaliation. They have counterattacked in the past as well. Case in point is a recent one. So in January 2020, Iran had launched more than a dozen missiles on two Iraq military bases that housed US troops in what it said was retaliation for the killing of top military commander Qasem Soleimani by the United States. So this is the level of retaliation that can be sought by the Islamic Revolutionary Guards of Iran. Now, whatever happens, if there is retaliation, it might affect the global oil ecosystem. So we know that in the aftermath of the US sanctions on oil imports, Iran does not supply much of world's oil, although it is quite substantial now, even now. But there are oil trade routes that can be hampered if Iran chooses to retaliate, and if this does become a to and fro situation. So let's hope that does not happen. The global oil ecosystem is not affected. Thank you for watching the video, and please provide your feedback and suggestions in the comment below.